Our guest speaker today is Kathleen Cramer with Turning Points, the Executive Director. She brings 15 years of nonprofit leadership experience and a wealth of knowledge in team building, community engagement, fundraising, and planned giving to Turning Points. Previously, she had held management level positions with a variety of nationally recognized nonprofits, including United Way, American Red Cross, and the American Heart Association. Most recently, before Turning Points, Kathleen served as a licensed financial advisor with a Fortune 300 not-for-profit organization. She's a Michigan native who also worked as the managing director of a children's grief center, where she led strategic and day-to-day operations of the branch. She's provided oversight of all programs and compliance for on-site and school-based programming that served more than 700 children annually. In her 10-year, program services were increased by 33% and $3 million raised towards capital campaign. Kathleen grew up in an Alice family and said it's an honor to provide compassionate environment where families, very much like her own, can secure the resources they need and respect they deserve. It's her goal to build upon the accomplishments of the past 25 years with a focus on expanding the nonprofit's impact and reach in the community. She earned her bachelor's degree in interpersonal and public communication from Central Michigan University. And please give a warm Bradenton Kiwanis welcome to Kathleen Cramer.
And always have to do that. Always, it's 5'1" proud here. That was quite an intro. That was actually the press release that was done when I came on board at Turning Points. What it doesn't say is Key Clubber, Kiwanian, been involved for a lot of years. Actually, Kiwanis gave me a scholarship to go to college. And that was really important to me because I did come from an Alice family. Anybody know what Alice means? It's a test. Asset limited, income constrained, but employed. So it's a new way. We used to say the working poor, right? Asset limited, income constrained, employed. And I did grow up in an Alice family. That was really something that I think my parents were experts at hiding how little we actually had. But I still, in comparison to many of the folks we serve, was really blessed. I never worried about having a home to live in. I never worried about having food in my belly. And so we were really taken care of in that way. But when I decided to consider this position, I was living in Charlotte, North Carolina at the time. And my husband worked for the whole southeast region of the United States, and he loved coming to Florida. And he was pushing about, let's move to Florida. So when we decided we wanted to move to the Gulf Coast, I started looking at, positions that interested me. My husband was in the Navy. That's why I worked for all those nonprofit organizations, because we moved every 3 years. So it gave me a cool opportunity to do something different at every organization and round out my skills. So now he said, it's your turn. You pick where we go. You follow your career, and I will be there with you. And so here we are. Now we are homeowners out in Lakewood Ranch and working here at Turning Points 10 months. I don't know where the time went. It feels like 10 days and 10 years all in one, but here we are. And when I was interviewing for the position, I was really blown away by all of the incredible services that were offered at Turning Points. And I actually had a conversation. I'm a talker by nature, and so I have to talk through my decisions. So I called all my friends, I called my mom, and started talking through this decision to become the executive director of Turning Points. And my mom had the most impactful comments to me. And my mom really shared for the first time. I knew that when we were kids, we didn't have a lot. She said no a lot. No, that was that. She didn't say, no, we don't have the money. No, we can't afford that. It was just no. And looking back, what a good parent move. She didn't put that on us. She didn't put on, like, she took the brunt of just saying no. She didn't, try to pan it off on we couldn't afford it, where we kind of would walk around with a stigma of we can't afford things. And so, but she shared with me when I was running past this idea of becoming the executive director of Turning Points, and she said, my mom's never quiet. She got real quiet. And I said, well, what are you thinking? And she said, if you do this, you've got to do it with compassion. Everybody that comes in there is struggling to ask you for help, so you better give them respect and kindness and compassion. That wasn't a Nancy answer. And so I was like, where did that come from? And she said, you guys didn't see it, but there were times when we had to go to agencies and ask for help. It didn't happen a lot, but what happened is my parents were those Alice families that have just enough. They always could pay the bills, almost always, really regularly, but they didn't have a pile of money in a savings account for the unexpected. They had enough. And there was a few times that the unexpected hit and they had to go ask for help. And she said, not everybody was nice. And not everybody made us feel good. Sometimes they made us feel bad, like it was our fault. And she's like, if you take this, just promise that you will make sure that you treat people with kindness and respect. And so that has been one of my charges as the executive director of Turning Points, is to ensure that my staff and the many volunteers that volunteer at Turning Points, you're not welcome to be a staff member or a volunteer if you're not going to treat people with kindness and respect. Because we don't know where people are coming from, we don't know their stories, it doesn't matter and it shouldn't matter, we're just here to help you today. And that is what we're doing at Turning Points. We are improving people's lives. A little bit sometimes and a lot other times, but we're doing that every single day. So how many of you had already heard about Turning Points? Almost every hand. So tell me what you've heard. What does Turning Points do? Just yell it out. Come on, what do we do?
Help the homeless.
Help the homeless. What else?
Provide medical and dental.
Provide medical and dental, yes.
Feed them.
Feed folks, or feed the homeless, or, okay, talk about that.
Direct services.
Direct services, yep. Anything else?
I think you have computer education.
Computer education, yeah.
Help with them figuring out employment.
Help with employment, okay, these are all good answers. These are all good answers. I think one of the things that when I was able to bring my first person on a tour, my board member brought two ladies that were business owners in the community and said, we want to take a tour of Turning Points. And I started right in the heart of COVID, May. I started, bam, right in it. And so we masked up and off we went around Turning Points. And we finished the tour and both of them said, you all are the best kept secret in Manatee County. Like, we had no idea. Like, we knew that you did homeless services, but we didn't know that you do 22 homeless services every day. 22 different things that we do every day for folks who are homeless. They didn't know the depth and the breadth of the work that we do at Turning Points. And I encourage you all, when you're ready, come on down and take a tour because it's pretty impressive. So I want to go over a little bit of that with you because I do think that we're the best kept secret in Manatee County and people understand one or two of the services we provide, but I'm very proud of all of the services that we provide and that we partner and coordinate with other agencies to provide on site. And so we heard things, I'll start with the medical and dental clinic. So we have a completely free, top of the line medical and dental clinic at Turning Points. And it costs $0 every time someone comes. $0. There is no sliding fee scale. We do not take insurance. So to qualify, and I really think that this is one of the biggest myths out there, is that people think that all of our services are only for the homeless. And that is absolutely not true. About 75% of the people that come to our medical and dental clinic are those Alice families. They are working, they are earning income, but they just don't have insurance. And many of them are in, the hospitality industry, and so they don't have insurance. They're below, it's considered 200% AMI, and that's the area median income. So it's not the super low poverty level, it's a decent wage. And then it goes there if you have family members, it rises up. And you have to live in Manatee County. That's how you qualify to come to our dental clinic. But let me tell you what I learned about our dental clinic. It's taken me 10 months. They're writing some grants lately, and when you write grants, you gotta dig in, right? You gotta learn even more detail about what you're doing. And I was blown away by our medical clinic. Because I'll tell you, so we started out, and like every nonprofit that's building, you start out and you piece it together. LECOM said, hey, we have a free physician if you take our students. And we said, okay, free physician, yay, 4 days a week. And then you start to kind of piece these things together. We could do a pharmacy on site, and we could do these things. And now we've gotten to the point where we have this incredible pot of services that now we're shaping and molding into what we really want it to look like. We've reached that excellent point. And so when you come to Turning Point for medical services, you will be assigned a primary care provider. It's an APRN, a nurse practitioner. They coordinate your care. And I say coordinate because we offer comprehensive coordinated care. And I can tell you my doctor doesn't even come close to what we offer at Turning Points. And so you get your nurse practitioner that provides you with your general medical practice. And then let's say, because the majority of our folks who come to us have chronic illnesses. And so maybe you have obesity, you have hypertension, you have diabetes. So what that means is that nurse practitioner creates a comprehensive coordinated care plan for you with our pharmacy. They bring in the pharmacy. They bring in a specialist if necessary. They may have to refer you out in the community for a specialist, but they're still going to coordinate your care. So how many of you have your doctor talking to your pharmacist, talking to your specialist on a regular integrated basis for your care? Doesn't happen very often. It's what we would call concierge care. And it's happening right here in our community for people who don't have insurance. And so we have LECOM still on site at Turning Points, and we love them. We have LECOM pharmacy students, and we have LECOM medical students. And when I talk about pharmacy, they are not just dispensing drugs. They are actually coordinating care. They are coming in to your patient exam room and meeting with your specialist and your nurse practitioner and having conversations about your care. It's called clinical pharmacology. And it is different and it's special. And our medical director really has looked at other free and charitable clinics, and he assures me that we are one of a kind, and that our model is closest to Mayo Clinic or Cleveland Clinic, who have billions of dollars behind them. But we just are trying to give good, comprehensive care because we know that's what works for folks and who don't have a lot of time and who haven't always had a voice to tell their story one time and have everybody hear it all at once. And to have the opportunity is important. We also have with our volunteer, just so you understand too, so we have those LECOM students and we have specialists. And so those are volunteer doctors, many of them who are retired, but I don't have the list, but it's about 30 different specialties long. We have nephrology, pulmonology, cardiology, we have ear, nose, and throat. We have an acupuncture team who can work with pain management without using drugs. We have a chiropractor, and it's a pretty incredible group of folks. And so they all volunteer. We have gynecology. They all volunteer at Turning Points to see our clients. And we have a new partnership with Centerstone to provide behavioral health right on site at Turning Points as well. So we're excited about that. That's just one little tiny sliver of Turning Points. That's just one little sliver. On the other side of that clinic is our dental clinic. Again, completely free dental services to the community who doesn't have insurance and meets the income qualification. And we don't do all dental services. We have limited services that we provide, but we do dental hygiene, so that ongoing cleanings to make sure we can maintain dental care. We do extractions, fillings. My very favorite is dentures and prosthetics. So I have the number, 400, it's here somewhere, 486 dentures last year. It's 486 people who walked in, probably embarrassed, with low self-esteem, with teeth that look rotten, and they can't go out and get the job that you and I can get. And they tell us that. And again, coordinated care often includes dental. We had a gentleman that came in who was 40 pounds overweight, hypertensive, pre-diabetic, had very few teeth that were of quality in his mouth, and he said, I'm depressed and I just can't get anywhere in my job. Like, his boss said to him, until your smile is fixed, I cannot promote you to customer-facing manager. So he was stuck. And he came to Turning Points, and he worked comprehensively with all of our folks, and he lost that weight, and he got his blood pressure under control, he got his diabetes under control, and he got a whole new smile. And sure enough, he got a whole new promotion as well. And so when you give somebody a smile, you give their dignity back. You allow them to be able to face somebody. We had a woman who wore a mask before masks were a thing. Every day she wore a mask because she was embarrassed of her smile. And it really takes a toll on people. So we love Project Smile, and it is, you hear, my office is right by our dental clinic, and I hear whoops of joy, and you don't often hear that from the dental office, right? But I will often hear whoops of joy as people are getting their dentures fitted, and they get to take them home, because that is very exciting. And again, it is completely free. So again, now that's just 1/3 of what we do at Turning Points. I think of it as I think across the building. Some folks mentioned that we provide direct services, so I'll talk about that. That's mostly our housing and utility assistance, and as you can imagine with COVID, that has gone through the roof. So we have about 30% more applications for housing and utility assistance, and we have received significant increase in our funding in order to do that. That's funding that goes directly out to those clients to be able to avoid an eviction. I don't know if evictions are hard to deal with. It's like a bankruptcy. You have an eviction on your record, people don't want to rent to you, and they will charge you significantly more. So the higher deposit, last month's rent, where they wouldn't normally do that, it does follow you around and makes it difficult. And so our housing and utility assistance in the last 5 months has given over $600,000 in assistance. And that's for rent and utilities. And that is to keep individuals and families in their homes so that they don't end up evicted out on the street and potentially homeless. And that money also, we have additional funds that go to serve people who are homeless, who are looking to get back into housing, different pot of money. I will be completely transparent. The majority of the work we do is homelessness prevention when it comes to housing and utility assistance. It's keeping people in their homes, keeping those families in their homes. And I don't have to tell you the effects on a child when they get yanked out of their home unexpectedly and have to figure out how to move and not have anywhere to go. And in the past 5 years, the families that we served, it was 2,890 families, and that was over 4,000 children that were part of those families that received assistance from Turning Points to stay in their homes. And that doesn't just come with a check. Like this too, I think, is a little myth, like, oh, they just, pay their rent for 6 months and that's that. No, they have to first of all bring us a whole lot of information to even qualify. There's a commitment on their part to do this. And then they have to create a budget with us. And if they're in a long-term program, which the majority of them are, it's a year to 2 years that they have intensive case management. And so that means they have to meet with someone 30 days, 90 days, 6 months, and they're getting regular calls, they're checking in, what else do you need, how are you doing, are you still housed, and getting support. We have a housing specialist that can provide support for folks who are struggling. Maybe I have a difficult conversation I need to have with my landlord, or I'm nervous to talk to them. They can call in and run it through, or actually have that person join the meeting with them. So housing and utility assistance keeps folks in their homes and certainly helps people find new homes. And then I heard folks say you serve the homeless, you feed the homeless, you provide, again, direct services, and that's true as well. We have a partner agency that feeds the homeless on site at Turning Points. It's called Our Daily Bread. It's not Turning Points, it's another agency on our campus. They feed 364 days a year, they feed lunch. And they have a food bank on site at Turning Points as well. So that's a way that you can partner to bring those things together. Somebody else mentioned jobs, and that's another partnership with Goodwill Minnesota. We have a job connections person from Goodwill on our site 5 days a week. She has an office, she's permanent, she is one of our team, and she is there to help people who are job ready to get placed into a job. We have programs to help people who aren't job ready. So you may not, so job ready means clean and sober. Have considered transportation. How are you gonna get to work? Do you have, do you have a way to get there? Do you have childcare? Have you taken care of those things? Do you have a resume? Do you have an email address that's appropriate? Booty shaker 123 is not appropriate. We have, we had what, bong master. Is that guy gonna pass the drug test? Made me a little nervous if that came to me for employment. So we help folks understand what appropriate means, how to become job ready, so that we can even send them over to Goodwill, our job connections person, to help them then actually get placed in employment. And a lot of folks do. And we do what Turning Points is known for, I think, is our day services. So people say, you serve the homeless. We do, but we also serve all of those Alice families. And I can tell you, it is 44% of Manatee County. Anybody have a guess at what 44% of Manatee County residents, the number? What do you think that would mean? How many people?
About 200,000.
You're very close. You're very close. It's about 180,000 people in our community who are at risk for homelessness today. They are working, they are making enough money to support their current need, but that one thing happens, their car breaks down, their kid has a medical expense, something happens, and they could be homeless because one domino starts it all. If you don't have that extra, now you have late fees that start tacking, going on and tacking on top of, and you have to decide between paying the power bill and food and, rent, and that's where it gets really dangerous. 44% of Manatee County, 180,000 people in our community would qualify for the services we provide at Turning Point. So it's not just the homeless, it is folks who have been working hard their whole lives, who have a bad day, have a bad month. COVID has been a bad year, right? COVID has affected our community heavily. And again, these are folks who've never had to ask for a thing. They've worked their whole lives and now their job is gone. And they can't pay their rent. And they're starting to shuffle their money around, and it maybe took them a while to get here because they were proud. And so they didn't want to come ask for help. So they asked their family, and they used up their savings. They pulled money out of their retirement funds, things of that sort. And many of them are now at the point, a year later, where they're needing to ask for assistance. So we hope that people will ask before they get to that point. We love proud people, of course, and people who take care of themselves and their families, but you shouldn't be too proud to ask for assistance because we don't want people pillaging their retirement funds. And there are funds out there, and certainly the government has pushed quite a bit of what we call CARES money down to organizations like ours, so we can serve people before it becomes a huge issue for them. Checking my time. I will give you the quick rundown on the day services, because that's what Turning Points is known for, day services. They think, services to the homeless. And people self-identify as homeless when they come to Turning Points, or they don't. We don't ask for proof of income for those services, but we had 8,691 people served last year in our day resource center, and they received 181,000 services. So those services are things like a hot shower. We do that every day, all day long. We give away hygiene kits. So on Friday, we make sure you get a hygiene kit so you can have your deodorant, your toothpaste, your shampoo, your soap through the weekend. We do laundry, and we do it for them. They don't come in and wash their own. They turn it over to us, and our volunteers wash laundry all day long. They fold it and give it back. And we did that. We did 6,481 loads of laundry. We did 8,768 showers. We helped 180 people attain their legal ID. We distributed 595 bikes because a bike is better than feet when you have no other way of transportation. And I will tell you, this is a big one. If you have a broken bike, bring it on down to Turning Points, because we have a cool team of committed volunteers who repair bikes and then get them out into the hands of folks that need them. So I know a lot of times, just 2 days ago, my neighbor put out a bike and it said free, and I said to my husband, go get that bike. And and I know it needs some work, but I know my people can handle it. And if they can't, they part the bikes out and use it to fix other bikes. So 600 bikes went out last year, and I know so many people who have a bike sitting in their garage that they don't use and haven't used in like 5 years, so bring it on down. During COVID, we haven't done as many haircuts, but we have a barber shop on site, and we're looking to get back. We always have a licensed barber. So we've been doing outside haircutting events instead, but eventually we'll be back to that. And we have a mail service. So think about that. You live in your car, you live in the street, maybe you just live at your friend's house. That's actually considered homeless. Where'd your mail go? You might have food stamps, you might have a check, you might have things coming to you that you need, and where do you get your mail? That's critical. Turning Points is a mail spot, so all a client has to do is just tell their folks, this is my address, Turning Points, 701 17th Avenue West, and the mail comes to us. So we have volunteers who sort through thousands of pieces of mail, and so it is a lot, but it's an important service that we provide. Lots of other little things like glasses, and backpacks that are given out, and all of those little services that we can provide, helping people get their birth certificates. That's a big deal, and we're really lucky to have Gulf Coast Legal partner with us on that, because some states are not so easy to get a birth certificate from. Some are super easy, and others you have to fight. And so Gulf Coast Legal helps us with those as well, so we can provide it. And it's time for us, I think, to redo the USF study. Y'all may have heard about that because it was a big deal in the community, but it's true. So USF, a little over 10 years ago, came to Turning Points and said, we want to figure out what impact you're making in our community. And so they determined that overall, Turning Points was annual economic impact to the community was $44 million annually. And you're like, wow, how is that? It was $22 million alone in the medical area. Because when somebody has primary care, they don't take ambulance rides, they don't have to stay in inpatient hospitalization, they have regular ongoing primary care. And so it cuts down ER visits, and those are things that tax dollars are paying for. And so it is practical to really think about homelessness and poverty as an our issue and not a their issue. And it makes your heart feel good when you can look somebody in the eye and say, here's some clothes today, here's shoes for your feet, take a hot shower. But it does make an important economic impact to our community. So I could go on forever and ever, but I'll take questions. Sir.
All right, we had one from Zoomland from Brett Pollock, and I'm not going to repeat it for the folks there. What federal assistance and grants does Turning Points receive? Turning
Points is very heavily grant funded. It's about 80% grant funding that we receive. I'm working on that. And so we do receive HUD funding. So FEMA and HUD are two of the federal grants that we receive. We receive a lot of funding right from Manatee County as well. And depending on the year, right now we just received about $1 million in CARES funding from Manatee County, but that's rolled down to them. Other funding that comes down. So a continuum of care. So the federal government said we don't want to give to every little organization. We don't want every nonprofit applying to us. So we're gonna designate a continuum of care in each community. And so it's typically 2 or 3 counties together. And they say, okay, we're gonna give the money to them and they can figure out how to give it out in their local community. So we have gotten funds that have come down from TANF and challenge funds as well that come through our local COC here. So it's like a lot of letters, isn't it? ESG, TANF, FEMA, it's a bunch of acronyms and letters, but definitely a significant amount of funding. COVID has even added more. It's typically about $2 million, and this year it's more with COVID. We've been able to receive an additional $1 million easily for direct client services.
Thank you.
Do you have
Sir?
any other questions?
Just a comment, a number of the people in this room that have been through Leadership Manatee have been through there, so I think a lot of us are very familiar with it from there. Plus, this club has interacted, teamed up with Turning Points for our multiple years that we did something called Christmas in August for homeless school children, and I think if you look, there's a plaque in one of your dental offices.
There it is, I saw it today.
And did anybody give you an application?
Not yet.
Wait.
I have a
Yes.
Are you, I might not be as caught up on this, but with the, I guess, the moratorium on evictions for COVID-related problems, the last I heard, that expires at the end of this month. So is that something that is like, do you guys feel like you're actively preparing for, I don't even know like what what that's gonna look like. I don't know if you guys know.
There has been, like I said, it's about a 30% increase that we've seen, and interestingly enough, it's stimulus time. So I said, how did our applications look this week? And they're like, dismal, because people got stimulus checks, people got tax returns, and so this time of year tends to be a little bit slower for us. So it'll be interesting to see whether folks are saving those funds, spending those funds, helping to get out of the situation they're in. But certainly this, moratorium's been kind of kicked down the road, and there's, thousands of evictions pending for folks. And it's gonna cause some challenges with mortgages too. Folks are gonna want to get out of their mortgage before they have to foreclose. So they're going to become the top renters, right? If you're a landlord, you wanna rent to people who have more income, have a better history. So those folks who are moving out of their homes and selling them will become top renters, and that's going to push our folks even further down. Affordable housing is a huge issue here in Manatee County. We can get people into places, but we don't have places to get them into. So yes, it will continue. And we have increased the number of case managers we have on staff since COVID, and we are Patterson Foundation. Actually, we provide the most season of sharing funds out into the community. So over $525,000 last year. This year it'll be significantly more. Our case managers are meeting with those people in need and providing those funds. And Patterson Foundation this year did a wonderful thing. They said, all of you who've been supporting us through SOS, we're giving you an honorarium. It was different for each organization based off of how much they gave, but they've given us enough that we're going to be able to get an online software package so people can apply easier for the rental and utility assistance, and we hope we can move our medical, because medical has eligibility, of course, you have to prove everything, and so we hope we can move that on there as well. And then that'll make it easier for our clients, it'll make it easier for our case managers and more streamlined so that they can serve people faster. So.
Do we have any other questions for Kathy?
You have my card on your table.
Oh, well, I'm gonna give you an application.
Oh boy, all right.
And one more part you did.
So, in Kiwanis, as a token of our appreciation, Kiwanis is governed by the golden rule. So we have a golden ruler for you to measure your future success and the future success of Turning Points.
Thank you.
Yeah.